Here we go. Hey everyone. Welcome to An Unlikely Story. My name is Kim Havens. I'm the event manager here. I'm up on the third floor, pretending I'm flying somewhere in an airplane because I'm so excited to welcome Terri Libenson and Victoria Jamieson tonight. And I hope you are too. I can tell from the comments you guys are excited. I love it. Both Terri and Victoria perfectly and authentically capture the bittersweetness of middle school life with humor, warmth, and understanding, and they are just the perfect two conversation tonight. I have a couple of housekeeping items to start. If you lose your connection or your video, just refresh your page, or you can exit out of your browser and then you'll jump right back in. You can also hit the help button for compatibility mode, and that you'll be on a little bit of a delay, but your quality should improve. If you have any questions for Terri or Victoria, you can type them into the Ask a Question box. You'll see it at the bottom of your screen. And you can also, if you see another question in there, you can upvote them, and the most popular questions will float to the top. Click on the green button below and in order to purchase any of Terri's books, and she has very kindly sent us some signed book plates. So along with your book, you will get signed book plates. Terri Libenson is a New York Times best-selling children's book author and award-winning cartoonist of the syndicated daily comic strip, The Pajama Diaries, which ran in hundreds of newspapers internationally until its retirement in January 2020. Pajama Diaries was nominated 4 times for the Reuben Award for Best Newspaper Comic Strip by the National Cartoonist Society and won in 2016. She's also an award-winning humorous card writer for American Greetings. Her debut graphic novel, Inside EMMIE, was published in 2016 and was a runaway success. Tonight, we're here to celebrate the release of the brand new EMMIE and Friends 4-book box set, which includes Invisible Emmie, Positively Izzy, Just Jamie, and Becoming Brianna, which just came out this May. We're also celebrating Uniquely You, which is an interactive journal featuring Emmie, Bree, and Jamie from the series. Born and raised in Kingston, Pennsylvania, Terri joins us tonight from Cleveland, Ohio, where she lives with her husband and 2 daughters. Victoria Jamieson is the creator of All's Fair in Middle School and the Newbery Honor book Roller Girl. She received her BFA in illustration from the Rhode Island School of Design, right next door, and worked as a children's book designer before becoming a freelance illustrator. She's also worked as a portrait artist aboard a cruise ship and has lived in Australia, Italy, and Canada. Her newest book is When Stars Are Scattered, which she created with Omar Mohammed and is a National Book Award finalist. Told in Victoria's engaging and accessible graphic novel style and based on Omar Mohammed's gripping true story, it's an intimate, important look at the day-to-day life in a refugee camp and is absolutely gorgeous. I highly recommend you check it out. So without further ado, it is my honor to welcome Terri Libenson and Victoria Jamieson. Welcome.
Hi. So glad to be here, and I'm so honored to get to introduce Terri and ask her all your questions. I see from the chat that everyone's really excited. I'm really excited too. I'm like fangirling out over here.
Oh, likewise.
And I feel it's funny because we've never actually met in person, but I had to remind myself of that because I feel like from reading your books that I know you, but we've never met.
I know I think we have a lot in common though. So that makes the connection, I think, even that much more special. And I feel like I've known you too. It's amazing that we haven't met in person yet. But
it's a funny thing about books. So I know we have a lot to talk about tonight. Why don't you start by maybe giving us an overview of your books? I know the first book the first one in the series and the first one that really made me love this series is Invisible Emmie. I feel like this is the one I really connected with because I was very much an Invisible Emmie in middle school. So could you tell us about the 4 books in the box set?
Absolutely. So the 4 books basically span the last 4 years or so of the books that I've written. As you said, it starts with Invisible Emmie, and I connect with that one myself because basically I was writing about myself in middle school and in elementary school, and probably a little beyond that too. Just very shy, quiet, and artistic. I expressed myself through my creativity mostly. I used to make my own comics all the time, and I think that was the only way I had to impress people, or at least myself, if anybody. So yeah, I never really expected to write books. I always wanted to be a comic strip artist. So this was kind of unexpected, and I decided to just kind of write from the heart, and that's where it began. It began with this kind of taking a deep dive into my past, and then from there, I thought that Emmie's best friend, who is modeled after my own childhood best friend, I turned her into more of a brainiac, but we used to do everything together, and I was the quiet one, and she was the one who would boss me around all the time. But she was actually very sweet otherwise. And so she became Brianna, and then Brianna became the offshoot for the next book, in Positively Izzy. And then I thought, oh, this is kind of fun, switching up the characters. I thought it'd be great to bring out some of the background characters, and that's where Just Jamie came in. And that was modeled after an incident that happened with my older daughter. And she gave me permission to talk about it. So if you want to talk about it down the road, we can. And then Brianna, I thought it would be fun to bring back that character, because I think I had it in my mind at one point that I would really love to do a story about a bat mitzvah. It's a little more, unusual for the series, but at the same time, I thought it would be perfect. They were the perfect ages. It's something that I've gone through and my kids have gone through. And so it's just a natural subject matter. But I tried to make it universal enough so that every kid could still relate to it. So that's where all those stories came in, and I've got more. So yeah, having a good time with it.
Are you allowed to tell us who the next character is going to be in the series?
You know what? I'm not even sure if I'm allowed, but I'm going to anyway. I've been saying for a long time, because I've been getting the question, are you ever going to have a boy character? So that's what I'm doing. I'm featuring Tyler Ross from Invisible Emmy. So bringing him into the whole fold, and he's going to be the main character of book 5, which comes out in May. And so far, the book title is called Truly Tyler. So it sounds a little hokey, but when you read the book, it kind of explains why.
I believe you. That's so exciting. One of my favorite parts of reading each book is seeing how the different characters their stories weave together as they go along. Is that something you had to plan from the beginning, or is it kind of organic as you go along? Like, how's Emmy going to meet Jamie? How do you do that?
Right, that's a great question. I think most of it is pretty organic, and some of it is deliberate. I think it's becoming more and more deliberate as I go deeper into this series, because I start having ideas of how I want certain characters to interact in the future. So I've got some some things in the back of my mind that I'd like to bring out, but I do like to surprise myself with my writing often. So at the same time, I try not to push things too much and let the characters' relationships develop as they go.
So we'll definitely get back to the series of books, but I have many questions about your early career, because it's just so fascinating to me. So I want to make sure I ask them. So comic strips, what was it like doing a daily comic strip? My imagination is just that it's a lot of work. I think graphic novels are a lot of work, but a daily comic strip seems like a lot of work. How does that work?
It is a lot of work. It got to the point where I couldn't do both the books and the comic strip, because the comic strip was a daily, and so I had deadlines all the time. They didn't let up. In fact, if you missed a day, we would work very far in advance, but if we ever missed a day, you would actually get fined. So I didn't want to lose money. I did not want to have a blank space in the funny paper. So, but at the same time, I loved it because I love goals and I love deadlines. I love having sort of these rules in place for myself. It keeps me motivated. I'm very type A. So it works with my nature rather than against it. So it was great. I actually loved it. I did it for 14 years. I was trying to make the 15-year mark, honestly. But as I said, just the books were kind of taking over and I was loving them as well. And, I just realized I think this is a chapter that I have to close, so to speak. So that's why, but I was in such a groove with the comic strip and it was always my dream to do that. So I can't complain. Even with the deadlines, I cannot complain. It was great.
I mean, it was your dream. Did you grow up reading comics in the newspaper?
All the time. Yeah. I think the first things that I started drawing were Snoopy and Woodstock from the Peanuts comic strip.
I was a member of the Snoopy fan club.
Weren't we all? I mean,
like a member, like I got a newsletter.
Yeah. I probably drew them on my walls. I can't remember, but drew them everywhere. Yeah, it was definitely a Charles Schultz nut. But I read everything, and my brother had this pretty big comic book and magazine collection growing up, and I would go, and he was a lot older than me, so he was out of the house a lot, and I would sneak into his room and I would, steal all his stuff and take them back to my room. And I remember I used to take his Archie comic books, and I would actually vandalize them. I would draw over them. I would rearrange their dialogue, just write a new dialogue, and I would fix their outfits, and oh my God, it was horrible. I can't believe my brother still speaks to me. But that was my start as a thief.
Yeah, I'm just about my brothers. Yeah, I'm sure your brother loved you stealing his books and vandalizing them.
I think we're past.
What would stress me out when I imagine daily comic strips? Did you ever run out of ideas, or is that not a problem?
It can be a problem at times. It used to stress me out in the beginning, but over time, I kind of learned tricks to deal with it. And this you'll like, because my greatest trick was stepping away from it and reading. I would read articles or books or magazines, anything that would spark an idea. And that always worked for me. So definitely another advantage to reading.
Yeah.
I think I'm a big proponent of stepping away from your work too, just for a little while, if anything, taking a break, going to exercise, or raiding your fridge or something, just to get away and clear your head, and then come back. And sometimes you see your work with new eyes. So that's my other trick. It really helps with these books too. If you can set them aside, it helps so much. I'm sure you've been there.
That's good advice. No, because that's one of the questions I get most frequently from students or young writers. Like, what do you do with writer's block? And yeah, I do the same thing. Step away if you can. And take a nice long break. I had to take a 2-month break on a project this summer, which was so helpful because you come back with fresh eyes and you get to see it again.
Totally. I think it's the greatest. It's the greatest trick of the trade, personally. So if you have that luxury of being able to step away and putting something aside for a while, then do it.
I see someone wrote in the comments, the best ideas come in the shower or on a commute. Very true. Agree.
I agree too. Yeah, lots of shower ideas. I think I had, and I know I've used that in my comic strip a few times. Just the shower writing on the tour.
Okay, one more question about your early career, because this is something I'm also very curious about.
Sure.
Is greeting cards. How did you do that? Did you draw them? Did you write them? What happened?
I mainly wrote. So this is how that whole thing got started. So we're going to go way back now. When I was in college, that's when I really knew I wanted to be a cartoonist. And I got my very first cartooning job when I think it was like right after I graduated, the summer after I graduated or something. Or anyway, it was in a really unlikely place. It was actually in a pizza place in my hometown in Pennsylvania, which is probably not too far from where you live. And they wanted me to do these huge like cartoon murals to decorate the walls. And I did them, and it was so much work, and it took all summer, and it was a lot of fun. And then I think he paid me about like $300 for the whole thing. And that's when I realized I think I need kind of a regular paying, steady job of some sort. And I remember in college, they would sometimes they would have recruiters come from Hallmark, because I went to school in St. Louis, and Hallmark is in Kansas City, which is not too far away. So they would have recruiters come in every so often and check out the students' work. And it kind of, gave me an idea. Maybe I should apply to greeting card companies and see if they'd be interested in hiring me as an artist. So I applied as an artist to Hallmark and American Greetings, and I think Gibson Greetings, which no longer exists. And I was rejected by Hallmark. They told me that my portfolio was like, it was just all over the place. I didn't have any consistency. And I can't remember what happened with Gibson Greetings. I assume they turned me down too. I can't remember. And American Greetings came calling, and they said, well, we don't really need artists, but we could use humorous writers. And can you write? And I said, yeah, sure, I could write. Why not? And I'd never done anything like that in my life, but who was I not to give it a shot? So that's what I did. And they gave me an assignment, and somehow I passed it. And I ended up writing humorous greeting cards for them. And it turned out to be so much fun. I would illustrate from time to time too, but they kind of like to keep the art department and the editorial department separate. So most of the time I was just doing writing, but it was great training ground because I was able to put like gag cartoons onto cards. So I was basically cartooning, and it really taught me how to edit as well. There came a point where I would edit entire greeting card lines. So I was able to, balance the different subject matter, and that was great training for my comic strips too. But the editing was so helpful, just learning to self-edit, because you really can't use a lot of words in a greeting card. So that became so essential to writing a comic strip, and then eventually the graphic novels. So I feel like I've gone through different baby steps along the way.
Wow. So interesting. And were you in art school, or did you go to like a normal school?
So I actually went to a regular university with a great art department. So that was Washington University in St. Louis. And it was actually, my daughter's applying there now. So we'll see if we'll see. I don't know. It's very hard to get into now, but not that it wasn't before, but they've really raised the bar these days. But it was wonderful. I had great professors, and I was even able to make I was an illustration major, but I knew I wanted to be a cartoonist by the time I was like a junior in college, and I was able to form my own cartooning independent study, which I don't think had been done there before. And I did it with a wonderful local cartoonist, and that was so much fun. And I remember I made my first comic book for my senior projects, and I still have it. So it's terrible, but
I'm sure it's great. And all of our first projects are terrible. That's why you move on and do new stuff.
Right.
That's so interesting. So how did you make the leap to graphic novels? Like, if you're making your daily strip, what prompted you to first make that Invisible Emmy, like make that first graphic novel?
Right. So a lot of cartoonist friends were kind of jumping into that that area. And I was actually encouraged by a cartoonist friend of mine to try it because really there weren't a lot of female writers like for, we were thinking more along the lines of a Diary of a Wimpy Kid type of illustrated novels at the time, not necessarily graphic novel. And so I heard that publishers were looking for more women writers with more of that kind of vantage point. And I thought, you know what, why not? Let me try it. At first, you know, I didn't know if I would have enough time, but I realized when you're writing your first book, you're not on any kind of deadline. You could take your time with it. You could write it during off hours, and you could do it for as long as you'd like. So that was that was the one advantage we had way back when. But I really discovered how much I loved it once I got into it. So that was my jumping off point. And I still have a lot of friends in the comic strip and cartoon world who have made that leap now. And I feel like it's, you know, ever since graphic novels and illustrated novels have really blown up. It's great. It's become like such a huge community now. And I feel like I know so many people in it, which is wonderful, including you now, which is great.
Well, it's funny that you came to it after doing so many other things, because I feel like reading your books, I just feel like you are so connected with middle schoolers. I'm surprised you weren't doing that from the beginning. It seems like this is what you were born to do. And some of these, when I'm reading them, I'm like, is she reading my diaries from when I was in 7th grade? Like, just the voice seems so spot on for middle schoolers that I'm so glad that you found this and that we can all share in it. I had some specific questions about your books. Mm-hmm. So I know the latest one that I read was Becoming Brianna, about her bat mitzvah. Does that have any relation to what your bat mitzvah was like, or your daughter's bat mitzvahs?
I probably relate more to my kids' bat mitzvahs because I really can't remember much of mine. And it was so different back then too. Kids' bar and bat mitzvahs, now bar for boys, bat for girls. You know, it depends what you want to do, but a lot of them have become so overblown. So it's like a completely different beast now. I think what I did was I just had my bat mitzvah service at my temple, and then we all went into the basement and ate. And then my dad took a really horrible blurry picture of me, and I threw that in the book. So I think that's one of the first pages of the book. Wait, let me see if I have it. Yeah, it's blurry and it's yellow. That's me in the basement of my temple in this horrible dress that my mother put me in. That was really itchy because it was all lace. But it was still wonderful. It was a wonderful time. I remember having a lot of trouble with my Hebrew. I was always very tripped up with Hebrew. So the book, it probably takes a little bit of that, but it's mostly just, I went through bat mitzvahs with both my daughters much more recently, and I just remember all the planning and turning into like a bridezilla mom or a batzilla. And I thought that was one of the funniest parts. And I actually did a whole comic strip storyline about this as well with the child characters in my comic strip. And everything was just still so fresh for me. So the thing about bar and bat mitzvahs is because there's so much planning and you could be questioning your belief system the entire time and worried about being in the spotlight. I said, oh my gosh, this is perfect, especially for Brianna, who hates being in the spotlight. So I sort of made her trip up on her Hebrew. So it's the one area I think that she actually kind of falters on. And I turned her mom kind of into, you know, how I was planning my kids' bat mitzvahs, where she goes a little bit overboard, but it works perfectly with her theatrical background. And, you know, just the whole time, I mean, I remember my kids, at least one of them had really questioned why she was going through it. And I'm sure that is so common. And so it kind of made me go back and think of how we answered and how my daughter ended up feeling, which was she was happy she went through with it. And I think she was relieved. And I think that I'm talking about my younger daughter. I think she was the one who questioned everything. So, you know, you have so many of these challenges and so much of this awkwardness and all these swirling thoughts that it just creates the perfect drama for a book. So that's why I did it. And those were my influences.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it works perfectly because it's the right age and parties and who's going to come. And it just all, right. A lot of drama in one day.
Yeah, it's its own little mini soap opera situation.
The other question I had, so Uniquely You, we haven't really talked about that book so much.
Sure.
So it's kind of like a workbook for kids, or do you want to tell our viewers about what Uniquely You really is?
Sure. Well, I can actually show you. I brought it down with me. So this is Uniquely You, and I call it kind of a hybrid between a journal and an activity book. It's kind of like a guided journal and activity book. So it's divided into 3 sections, and they're all sort of led by 3 of my main characters. So it's EMMIE, Bree, and Jamie, and they're each in charge of their own sections, and they kind of prompt you into different activities. So this one, for instance, is EMMIE sort of guiding you through a make your own comics section. And she gives tips on how to get started, like with some ideas. And some are just kind of silly games, and others are a little more, introspective, where you really have to kind of dig into your feelings a little bit more. Here's a fun one, another EMMIE one, where I think you have to decode something, like make your own code. And then at the end, there's actually a section for your own journal. And actually what's kind of fun is I made a little flip book in the bottom corner there.
Nice.
And I think I used to make mazes when I was younger, and I thought, it would be really fun to throw in a maze there. And it's amazing that still really never leaves you. It all just kind of came back. I can't remember.
I was going to ask if you did any of those books where it teaches you how to draw. Was this something you did as a kid too?
This one doesn't really teach you how to draw per se. I know there are a lot of kids' journals that do. This is more of just, kind of guiding you into different activities and quizzes and answering questions and things like that, or creating comics or getting you started with the journaling. But it's something that it's something that I would love to approach again if I make anything else like this, because it would be a very natural thing to do, I'm sure. And you've done that, haven't you?
A book like that?
Not a book so much, but have you done any kind of like guided activities for creating comics? I thought I saw something on your website.
Not in a book form. I guess I've made some downloads for teachers about making comics. Not in a book form, but I think it's really fun where it's kind of like a workbook that kids can actually write in. Maybe
we need to do like an author collaboration or something like that someday.
Be so fun. Or I'll just get you and I'll like fill it out, and that would be my collaboration. But yeah, I guess I was wondering because as a kid, I kept a lot of journals and a lot of diaries, and that's helped me as a writer. So I was wondering if you had some of those from your childhood too that you drew from as an author.
Oh, gotcha. I used to keep journals very sporadically. Not as much as you would think. I think it was more about just drawing everything and everybody that I saw. So less journal. I wish I did. I wish I kept a journal a lot more than I did. I'm trying to think of anything else. No, really just, I made my own comics a lot. So I guess it's almost like a form of journaling, because it was almost like I was projecting who I wanted to be and what my ideal life would be onto the comics that I created. I mean, I remember I used to get together with another neighborhood girl after school, and we would do joint comics because she was very artistic too, and it was so much fun. And they would go on these, we had this whole group of characters, and they would go on these adventures. One time they went on the Love Boat, so I don't know if you're watching this would even know what that is, but but you could tell where my head was back then.
That's awesome.
So it's just a lot. It was drama back then too, but I think I'm just such a kid at heart, and I don't think I've ever given that up. And you were mentioning before that that you felt I related to middle school kids, and honestly, I do think that's why. I also write. I tend to write very autobiographically, and I did that with my comic strip, but I wrote from the viewpoint of a mom. But I realized, that works so well for me. So why not? I mean, I still feel like I still can remember all the feelings I had from when I was a kid. I don't remember what I did day to day, but I remember how I felt. So I think that's why I can channel that. And of course, just seeing my own kids go through the same kind of stuff, although they're much more outgoing than I ever was.
Well, like I said, it seems like you were born for these kinds of books, so I'm so glad you're doing them now. I know we're going to have a drawing demo, but I have like a burning question that I need to ask before a drawing demo, and then we'll have time for questions at the end. So my burning question is about Baked Bean Girl. And I've been giving this a lot of thought since I knew we were going to have this conversation. And like maybe I've been dwelling on this for too long, but I'm so glad there's so much like kind of potty humor in these books. I feel like that's normally like delegated to, and I hate the term like boy books and girl books, but often that's what you think of with a book for like starring boys. There's a lot of potty humor, but never with girls. And I'm just so glad these girls are like in the bathroom, like going to the bathroom, or like throwing up in the bathroom. It just seems like it normalizes it and makes it fun and makes it possible for girls to talk about like pooping or things that happen in a bathroom. And so, like I said, I've given maybe too much thought to Baked Bean Girl, but could you talk about why you like included potty humor and Baked Bean Girl in particular?
I don't think I've thought of it that much.
Oh, see, like I said, I've been overthinking Baked Bean Girl.
Partly joking, but yeah, no, I agree. I'm like, why should the boys have all the fun? It's pooping is a daily subject at our dinner table. I hate to say that, but it's true. And now we added a puppy into our mix, so that's pretty much all we talk about. So yeah, we deal with a lot of bathroom humor in my family, and I don't know. I'm a very immature person, so it. But I love Baked Bean Girl. I think I created her to be kind of like, look and sound like a typical girl bully, but yet she dresses so childlike. She has like sort of a childlike braids. And then, when she pushed EMMIE to the side when she was in line for the restroom the first time, I don't know why that just kind of made me laugh, but I thought, oh, let's keep that going. So yeah, she's, I love Baked Bean Girl. I definitely would like to do more with her. I know we had this little chat earlier, but I get emails all the time from kids asking if I could turn her into a main character. And that's been in the back of my mind for a while. So we'll see. I think she's someone who would surprise me. So I'd love to see where she takes me.
The people want it, Terri. The people want it. Give the people what they want. More Baked Bean Girl.
More bigger, yeah. Might have to give her a real name.
Oh yeah, what's her real name gonna be?
I don't know. Oh, I should do a contest.
Maybe her last name is Hines. Or like something Bush or something.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm so excited. Okay. All right. So I know you brought your sketchbook down particularly to do a drawing demo for us.
Yes. Normally I would be doing this. I have a someone just quoted Big Bean Girl. I love it. Actually, I think the hardest part of my book sometimes is trying to figure out what you just ate and not to read it. So, I think in the book I'm writing now, the book 5, I think there was like a vegan taco or something. I can't remember. But anyway, yeah. I was saying normally I work on a digital drawing tablet. I work all digitally. I love it. I think those tablets were created just for me because I'm a weirdo who hates making a mess. So it's perfect. And I'm really, very, like I said, I'm very type A and I'm very precise. So it works well. So, but every once in a while I do bring out the Sharpie and the sketchbook, and we'll see where that takes me because I'm used to drawing like this big. And when I draw any larger than that, they tend to get kind of funky and out of proportion. So this should be a trip.
Okay, so what are you gonna draw for us? Can I?
What would you like? I could take requests. What would you like me to draw?
Oh yeah, type in the comments if you've got a request for a character or like a can of baked beans or
a can of
a test.
Actually, I'd have to check reference for Baked Bean Girl because I can't remember what she looks like offhand. It's been a while since I drew her.
Yeah, here goes. I see Dev. I see
everyone's Baked Bean Girl. Let me see if I can find her. If I could find her in my, I can't remember what she looks like.
Well, we also have 2 requests for Dev, so if that's easier.
Oh, Dev, yeah, he might be a little easier. I could try both, but
Okay.
Let's see. Okay. I'm going to turn around a little bit. So I don't get very many requests for Dev, but I usually start out by drawing the eyes and then the nose. I'm trying to remember his face shape. Oh my gosh. Okay. Nope. Actually,
that's a good
really be leaning
artist make
against
mistakes too. Feel free
Yeah,
to start over with your own drawings.
Yeah, I'll do it against my leg. It'll be a little easier. So I'll draw and then I'll kind of, let's see. Can you see it? Okay. There we go. And then he's got kind of this wavy-ish hair. I'm really bad at drawing and talking at once, so I apologize, but not the best multitasker. But I love him in Brianna. I think he gets more of a starring role in Brianna, and I love that I can make him dance.
You mentioned photo references. Do you look at photo references while you draw, or references for your characters, like dancing?
I do sometimes. It depends. Yeah, if there's a particular pose, maybe. That's the beauty of the internet now, where I don't have to use a model. I don't have to grab my daughters all the time, sometimes, but, or if there's maybe an element or an object that I'm not sure about how I can draw it, I will. Do you do that too? I assume just about everybody does at this point.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of photos off the internet to help with weird poses, even things like holding a spoon while someone's eating cereal. I'm like, how does
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've done that too. The spoon holding.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's not my best work, but just trying to do like kind of a quick one. I'll make his favorite t-shirt. Oops, I don't know why I put that low, but it's kind of a bad drawing. It's his apple pie t-shirt. Because he's a science nerd, so. But there's Dev. Yay.
Love it. Someone said you make it look so easy, and you really do make it look so easy.
Not really. Draw Victoria. Oh my gosh. Now I'm so bad at drawing real people. But oh yeah, I would not do you justice.
Well, I know we've got a lot of other ones. Do you want to do another one, or we've got a lot of questions? I'm not sure how much.
Sure, I could do one more quickly if you want.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, this is Kim. Hello, I'm back. I could ask the questions while you're drawing.
Oh, okay. I could try. I'm kind of bad at doing both, but
Okay, never mind. We're not going to do that. You draw and then I'll chime in.
You might get a very hilarious answer or a very, very slow answer. Well, let me draw one more character. I see Jamie there. Do you want me to draw Jamie?
Yeah.
Okay. I love drawing Jamie, actually. She's a fun one to draw. Then be happy to answer questions. I will say when I draw, I love drawing Emmie too because her hair is a lot of fun to draw because it's all those spirally curls. And that was actually modeled after my older daughter who has like those corkscrew curls, and she used to wake up and her hair would be sticking straight up in the air. It would take forever to come down. Okay. I'll try and make this a quick one of Jamie. So I love it when they wear, I tend to draw them in the winter time. I tend to draw them in like leggings and big chunky boots. And I think that's just sentimental because that's how my daughter was always dressed when they were in, especially in middle school. But sometimes she was like a little earring. So there's Jamie. There's a very quick drawing of Jamie.
Nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thanks. My nighttime drawing.
Yes,
So yeah, is there any questions?
Okay. So here's number one question. Emma wants to know, let's see. Can you tell us if we will ever find out more about Jamie and Anthony's relationship?
About Jamie and Anthony's relationship, did you say?
Yep.
Yes. Oh. Yeah, they've got a nice little friendship / relationship. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure when I will get back to that, but it's definitely in the back of my mind. I know as much as you do, to be quite honest. I tend to not know how these relationships will evolve until I actually start writing the books. Like I said, I like to surprise myself. But I think what they have is so sweet. And whether it's they always just stay friends, or if they end up being like a boyfriend girlfriend, which they kind of, well, I don't want to give away any spoilers, so I won't. I'll just leave it there. But we'll see. I'm not sure myself, but I would love to kind of touch on that again someday.
And so Rain has a question. Yep, she says, in Invisible Emmie, I noticed that there are some color illustrations in Emmie's point of view that are dull and a little bit gray, but on Katie's side, it's brighter. Why did you decide to darken the lines for Emmie's point of view?
Oh yeah, that was very deliberate. The reason why I decided to kind of mute the colors in Emmie's chapter is because it's Emmie's point of view, and she, in the story at first, Emmie, it kind of reflects Emmie's nature, where she's a little more quiet and muted, and I think it's also how she sees herself. And in contrast with Katie's chapters, they're very vibrant and colorful, and this is, this is what Emmie notices about Katie, and this is Katie's own world, and it's sort of, I wanted to contrast the two characters, so that's why I do it. But if you notice, it kind of changes. I'm probably spoiling it a little with the story, but you'll see that it changes throughout the story.
That is very cool. So Autumn would like to know why you decided to do two different perspectives.
Oh, that's a great question. So this is interesting. When I first wrote Invisible Emmy, excuse me, I'm going to grab my water here for a second. I can feel my voice going. When I first started writing Invisible Emmy, it was interesting because I actually just wrote from her point of view. I wasn't expecting to have another character. But as I wrote the story, I thought it might be kind of interesting because the story revolves around a single event in a single day. I thought it'd be interesting to see someone else's perspective of the same event. So that's where I decided to have a contrasting character in Katie. And then originally, when I did the book, I did it as an illustrated novel. So it was basically just like Emmy's chapters, where it would be mostly words with some spot art intermixed and some of that labeling. There was no graphic novel portion. And later on, I have to credit my agent. He suggested that I do Katie's chapters as a graphic novel, so that it contrasted the two characters even more and kind of set them apart, and also would make the book a little more interesting because you have the two different styles. And at first I was very mad at him because he gave me more work to do. But then I realized that I realized right away what a fantastic idea it was, and I jumped on it. And actually now I absolutely love illustrating the graphic novel portion. I enjoy it even more than illustrating for the illustrated novel portion. I am not sure what you would call it, those other chapters. I love writing those chapters, don't get me wrong. I love getting more detailed with those, but I absolutely adore illustrating the graphic novel chapters. So I hope that answered your question.
So Amy would like to know, what are some of your favorite middle grade books today, and what were some of your favorite middle grade books as a kid?
Oh my gosh.
Both of you with that one.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part.
Oh, I was thinking that I'd be interested to hear Victoria's as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, we'll both have to take it.
As a kid, that one's really easy. It's easier than books now, because as a kid, it was Ramona Quimby. Like, I loved the Ramona books by Beverly Cleary. Those were hands down my favorite as a kid. I read them over and over and over again.
Excuse me. Honestly, when I was a kid, especially in middle schooler, I was probably reading mostly comics. I read everything now. It's interesting. I wasn't as much of a reader of straightforward books back then. If they had these graphic novels back then, oh my gosh, it would have been completely different. But I know I read a lot of Judy Blume. Loved it. But otherwise, I can't remember too much. I became a reader probably more so in high school. But I devoured comics all the time. Comic books, like I said, stole my brother's comic books all the time, had my own as well. And as far as today goes, I mean, it's like a feast. There's so much to read. I love so many different books. I wouldn't even know where to begin. Although I did just read Victoria's book when, oh my God, I just blinked.
When Stars Are Scattered.
Oh my God. And it was phenomenal. It deserves all the recognition that it has received. It's a beautiful book. So I highly recommend that. I have a friend who came out with a great one this year too that I've been recommending. It's Rob Perel's Wink. W-I-N-K.
I love that one so
it's a
much.
great one.
I read that book and realized we have the same editor, and I freaked out.
Oh, wow.
So good. Yeah, I love that book.
Yeah. He's one of my cartoonist friends. He's the nicest guy. Yeah, he's the nicest guy.
He's so nice. We just hosted him a little while ago, and he and Jeff were hilarious. Right before Jeff went down on lockdown deadline. I think that was right before we lost him.
Wow.
We need to have an event with the three of us, and I'll just die happy.
Yes,
Yeah.
that would be really fun. So Elise would like to know, did anything that happened to Emmie happen to you in middle school?
Yes. Oh, you can hear the story. Do you guys have time?
You.
We're not going anywhere.
Okay. Me neither. So I have to tell you about the note. If you've read Invisible Emmie, you know there was a note incident where Emmie dropped a note that no one was supposed to see, and someone picked it up and saw it. So this did not happen to me. It was loosely based on something that happened to me, and it happened to me in 5th grade, not in middle school. But it was close enough. And so what happened was I had my best friend and I in elementary school. We would go to each other's houses after school and just hang out all the time. And I remember one day I went over to her house, and we must have been so bored and couldn't figure out what to do. So we decided, why don't we write love notes to the 2 most popular boys in our class? I don't know why we did this. Neither of us had a crush on these boys, but this is what we did. So it ended up being kind of a joke. We wrote them. They were really mushy and horrible and disgusting, just really sappy. And we had a good laugh. And then I went home. And then I get a call from her maybe about an hour later. And she said, hey, guess what? I just dropped off your notes to those 2 boys' houses.
No, she didn't.
I did. I said, what? Why would you do that? Did you drop off yours? No, just yours. And I don't know why she did this. I don't know why I remained friends with her, but she did this. And then, of course, the next day I went to school, and it was about as bad as you can imagine. I had to face those 2 boys. One of them just kept coming up to me and teasing me all day and saying, cute letter, Terri, cute letter. And the other just completely ignored me. And of course, they told the entire class about these, or showed them. I'm not quite sure. And so I felt like everybody was whispering about me all day. And it was humiliating. And of course, I was so quiet and shy. So it felt like it was just, the weight of the world. The good news is, I think the next day everybody forgot about it, and I was fine. And I ended up becoming Facebook friends with these 2 boys, so we're good. We're all good. So,
oh gosh, that is a good.
We're fine now, but it was humiliating, and I remember when I was working on Invisible Emmie, and I needed kind of a pivotal point where something really embarrassing happens to Emmie. And I couldn't figure it out. And then all of a sudden, I remembered what happened to me back in 5th grade. And I said, that's it. I've got to use that. So you never know. Sometimes the most horrible, humiliating experience of our life can turn into something good. So that's where that came from.
Oh, that is awesome. Excellent. So I'm just so excited. So I think we are, let's see, actually, I had a really good question that I was thinking, because I was thinking about snacks and I was kind of hungry, and I asked Victoria that I had this. So what are your favorite snacks to have on hand when you're working?
Oh. I eat like every hour, so I have quite a few favorite snacks.
Junk food snacks.
Junk food snacks? Well, I could tell you my favorite snacks, but I can't eat them all the time because that would be bad. But I would probably turn into a big grease ball, but I love French fries.
Oh yeah, that's hard to have fresh every hour on the hour, huh? I think I'm kind of lucky in some ways because my studio's in the attic. So if I want a snack, I have to go down like 2 floors. So usually I just have like whatever's in my studio left over. But if I had my druthers, it'd be Swedish fish all day.
Ooh, those are good.
Oh,
Swedish
Swedish
fish.
Yeah, I will be stopping to get snacks on the way home. Here, I will jump on and say thank you to you both. This was so much fun. And it was great to see you again. And when we're all traveling again, I would love to have you guys at the store. This is the best part about this whole happening, though. You know, we have to look at the bright side, is I can have you both here with us at the same time. I thank everyone for joining us. And yeah, I think these events are the definitely getting me through. They're like the pictures in my graphic novel. I just hop from event to event and get excited for the next one. And I do encourage everyone, click the green button below, right there in the middle, buy books, and we will send you book dates. Probably not tomorrow. We'll probably get them out soon in the mail. But we do have it. And so thank you both so much.
Thank you so much. And it was such a pleasure, and happy holidays to everybody.
Yes, thank you. Happy holidays to you and your families, and happy new year. And thank you for helping us end our year on a good note.
My pleasure.
Excellent. Thank you, Terri. Thank you, Vicki.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.